Hello, everyone. So today we're going to go over a 2020 election prediction between Senator Elizabeth Warren from Massachusetts and President Donald Trump, who would be president at the time, assuming nothing happens to him in the span from 2017 to 2020. So let's go over some of the safe states per se. So we know California will go blue. Oregon, yeah. Washington, yeah. Nevada could be toss up. So let me see if I can make that toss up there. Yeah. Arizona will be toss up. Utah won't be. Not this election season. Um, Wyoming, no. Idaho will go to Trump. Montana, even though Idaho gave McMullen 10% last time, I don't think he'll run again, especially since the fact that Elizabeth Warren might be seen as a good Democratic candidate, even though she might not do as well as Hillary Clinton did, or she may do better. North Dakota, safe for Donald Trump. South Dakota, safe as well. Nebraska, I'm going to give him all of Nebraska's five electoral votes because I don't really see it flipping anytime soon, especially since it didn't flip for Clinton, and Clinton was much stronger than Warren was. So it's kind of eh. Kansas, yeah, definitely. Oklahoma, yeah. Texas, I'm going to leave toss up because of the growing Latino population there. So it's not an exact measurement of minority growth, but however, I'm not safe to say that it's going to be safe Republican, especially in 2020. Um, Minnesota, um, toss up. The Rust Belt, the entire Rust Belt is toss up. The main Rust Belt states. Iowa, I would call that safe Trump because it went for Trump by 9%. I don't see it flipping back unless there was like another Barack Obama candidate, which I don't see happening. Missouri won't be a toss up. Illinois will be safe Democrat. Arkansas, safe Republican. Louisiana, safe Republican. Mississippi, safe Republican. Alabama, safe Republican. Georgia, I'm going to leave as a toss up because today is the day of the 6th Congressional District special election, and it looks like it might be slowly turning Democratic, especially since the 6th Congressional District is a good indicator of where the majority of the country is going. It's 8% more Republican according to the Cook PVI, and it's 8% more Republican than the entire country. And if that one's slowly turning blue, regardless, because of Donald Trump, and he runs again in 2020, we don't. It's not an exact measurement, but I still think it shows a growing trend of Republicans and Democrats forming and uniting against Trump. That may or may not do well for Warren, considering the fact that in 2016 it was supposed to happen. They were supposed to unify against Trump. The final Comey letter, the Trump staying on track, going in the Rust Belt, that worked for him, and it might work for him in 2020. Indiana, Mike Pence's home state, safe for Donald Trump. Gives him 96 electoral votes to Warren's 94. Um, so let's move on to not the Midwest. We just covered the Midwest. The Eastern Coast, which is probably solid Democrat in the Northeast. In the Southeast, it'll probably be more Republican. Tennessee, safe Republican. Kentucky, safe Republican, especially against Elizabeth Warren. West Virginia, yeah, safe Republican. I mean, if someone like Bernie Sanders ran, that one could be a toss up because just the fact that even though West Virginians are very Republican when it comes to voting in the presidential elections, they don't vote down the ballot. They don't say, you're a Republican, I'm voting for you just because you're a Republican. They elected a Democratic governor, more votes for the governor, more votes in the governor race in West Virginia than in the presidential race in 2016, and they elected a Democratic governor. So they are split ticket voters. So they really don't. It doesn't matter the party there. But if it was someone like Bernie Sanders who doesn't blame them for climate change or doesn't say they want to put them out of business, it could be tossed up. But this is Elizabeth Warren. She's an establishment Democrat. Although she does unify the party, I'll give her that. She will still be another Hillary Clinton. I mean, Hillary Clinton was great in my opinion. However, I don't see someone like Warren really rebuilding the party and taking it back from Donald Trump. And the reason why I'm considering giving him the Rust Belt is because of the fact that even though Indiana did go for Obama in 2008, you can't say that it's going to be safe Democrat because it went once. This was a weird election in 2016. However, I think Elizabeth Warren could do the exact same thing Hillary Clinton did, turn off a lot of white working class voters, and possibly not be elected the 46th president. So let's see. Alaska, I forgot to cover this. Alaska and Hawaii, Republican, Democrat, respectively. Virginia, I'm going to leave that one in the Democratic column just because of the fact that Tim Kaine is still a senator there, assuming he's reelected, and which will probably be reelected. And the governor race here is not showing good signs for Republicans. This is an off year where Democrats don't turn out to vote, even though there were more votes in the Democratic primary than the Republican primary, surprisingly. And the Republican primary was much more competitive than thought. Ed Gillespie and um, Corey Stewart. Corey Stewart definitely split the party vote there. He doesn't like Ed Gillespie at all, including some of his Reddit posts that he's been posting about him. So I think that the Republican Party in Virginia, not only do they not like Trump, they're essentially split halfway down the ballot because they both got around 43% of the vote. And that's in 2017, an off year for Democrats. So I'm going to give that one to Elizabeth Warren. She has 111 electoral votes, and Donald Trump has a 123. Now let's go in for all these northeastern states. Vermont, safe Democrat. New York, safe Democrat. Donald Trump's home state. New Jersey, safe Democrat. Possibly. Maryland, safe Democrat. Delaware, definitely. Massachusetts, 11 electoral votes. Elizabeth Warren's home state. New Hampshire I'm going to leave as a toss-up, just because of the fact that it was so close in 2016. I was really surprised that Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin all went, but New Hampshire didn't. And these two states were not even considered toss-up unless you count like one poll from Taflar Group the day before the election that showed Trump up by 3. That was the only poll that ever showed Trump up. Maine. I'm going to give one congressional district to Trump because of the fact that it went for him solidly in 2016, and that may because of Clinton turning off the roll voters. And this is a congressional district that went for Obama twice, never split its ticket other than a couple times. I don't think it actually did. However, just because of the 2016 election, it did split its ticket. Maine had 3 electoral votes for Hillary Clinton and 1 for Donald Trump. Connecticut, 7 electoral votes. That one will go into the Democratic column along with Rhode Island, which I think is losing an electoral vote most likely. And D.C., definitely solid Democrat. Let's see. South Carolina, solid Republican. North Carolina, I'm going to leave as a toss-up state, even though it's leaning Republican. And Florida, toss-up state. So now let's go over the toss-up states and go over the obvious ones. Minnesota probably will stay with Warren, with a growing number of Democrats that actually they did switch to Trump, but a lot of them weren't really looking for that jobs, looking for that manufacturing opportunities as much as the Rust Belt was. So if Trump keeps his approval rating now, I'll give that one to Warren. However, if he outperforms what he normally said he would do, if he builds the wall, if he gets them their jobs back, even though that's not really their main focus, Hillary won that by around 3 to 4%. And if Trump is able to hold on to that, if Trump is able to pick that up, then that would be monumental for him. Although I don't see that happening in 2020, especially with growing demographics. And let's see, Texas. That one I'm going to say will stay in the Republican column only because the growing Latino population there isn't really growing as much as other states like New Mexico, Nevada, Colorado. Huge Latino populations there. Although Texas is right along the border, it's the most populated Latino state. I don't think that they're going to turn out in record-breaking numbers as they did for Obama, and even then they didn't switch to the Democratic side. It voted for Clinton more than Iowa did in 2016, but that was only because Trump wasn't heavily favored there. They voted for Ted Cruz in the primary. They voted for Hillary Clinton in the primary as well. There wasn't as much of that rift between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton there, which is why she was able to make up ground there. I think she lost by 8% in Texas. And let's go on to another state, Arizona, another big Latino population here. This one, I'm gonna leave as a pure toss-up because in 2016 it wasn't called. North Carolina was called before this one. Wisconsin was called before this one on CNN. There were many things about Arizona that were very surprising. It was a solid Republican state in 2012. In 2016, voted for Trump by I think 4%, which is very surprising. That's a large growth for Democrats. So maybe in 2020 it could switch to the Democratic side. Again, Elizabeth Warren, she's just a repeat Hillary Clinton. I don't see it going for her, especially with this hate trend that's been going on in the United States for how long now? Since the election, since before the election. I think that Elizabeth Warren may be able to unify the party, but I don't think that's enough to push her over the top, especially in a state like Arizona. So that will give Donald Trump 182 electoral votes. Elizabeth Warren is at 208. She's she's around the point where if she wins a couple more states, like the Rust Belt states and like one more swing state, she can win. Well, actually, she would need to win Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, and the Rust Belt, and New Hampshire. But I'm pretty sure that she may be able to do it. It depends on how she plays her cards right. Vice President Pence would be a good unifier for the Republican Party again. I don't think that anyone will run against Trump in the primary unless he's super unpopular amongst Republicans. Even though his approval rating amongst Republicans is in the high 80s, low 90s. So I'm thinking Donald Trump will be the eventual nominee. I don't think he'll be impeached, especially since Democrats don't want Vice President Pence becoming President Pence, because the thing that worries Democrats about Pence is he may be radical, but he knows how to act. He knows how to act like a president. He knows how to convince the working class that, hey, we're here for you. He's another career politician, and he's able to sway the voters. It doesn't matter what he does. He can talk his way out of it. And so I'm gonna give Nevada to Elizabeth Warren because it may have been a toss up in 2016, but it went for Hillary Clinton. If it went for Hillary Clinton, they didn't vote for Donald Trump's ideals in 2016, so it wouldn't really matter to them if he kept his promises or not. So I'm going to give that one to Senator Warren. And New Mexico, again, I'll give that one to Warren just because of the fact of not the growing Latino population, the fact that they have a big Latino population there. And that'll give Elizabeth Warren 219 electoral votes. And now the rest is essentially the Rust Belt. Ohio, I'm thinking about giving Ohio to Trump because it did overwhelmingly vote for him in 2016, considering it was a swing state. And I think the margin was 8%, but that's going to go to Trump. And since Ohio has decided the election since Bill Clinton, actually I think since Bush, I'm pretty sure that one will stay in the Republican column just because of the fact that he won it by such a large margin in 2016. They would need a huge referendum. The entire nation would have to turn Democrat in order to turn Ohio blue. He won it more than Obama won it in 2008, and Obama won it in 2012. And Trump was able to win it on his first term, essentially. And let's go over to North Carolina. I personally think this one will stay in the Republican column. This one is 15 electoral votes, voted for Trump by an overwhelming majority. Clinton was ahead in the polls by large margins after her after the DNC. And yeah, it was just huge huge Republican base here. No one expected it to go to Trump by this amount, this margin, and I'm pretty sure that this will stay in the Republican column just because of the fact that Elizabeth Warren will turn off a lot of North Carolina voters. The only reason why Obama was able to take this in 2008 was because of the fact he turned out minorities. He was able to play to their beliefs, but minorities do not turn out for career politicians, the establishment Democrats. Barack Obama was a one-term senator from Illinois, so essentially they were like, okay, he's not a career politician, he's an outsider, he's African American, which will turn out minority voters, and having a white woman like they did in 2016, regardless, she may be a woman, but it'll just be a repeat of Hillary Clinton. They won't turn out for her like they did for Obama, which was what Democrats were counting on in 2016 when they were in Wisconsin, and Wisconsin was on Trump, and they were like, watch out for Milwaukee, watch out for those counties that went for Obama in 2012 and 2008, and they didn't turn out in numbers that they needed to in order to land Hillary Clinton's spot in the presidency. Michigan went for Trump by 10,000 votes, I think 10,400 votes, give or take a few, and that was a very close state. I remember the day of the election, many mail-in Michigan voters were like, oh, we had problems with our ballot, or we didn't submit our ballots on time, so we're coming in, and first we were solidly Hillary Clinton, and now we are turning to Donald Trump and voting for him because, say, we heard him speak or something, we heard his son speak, and in Wisconsin you were able to change your early vote, so that changed a lot of votes from Hillary Clinton, especially after the Comey letter. So I'm going to give Michigan to Elizabeth Warren, because I think that Trump won it by such a small majority, and a lot of his voters are really turned off by what he's doing now. A lot of his promises he's not living up to. However, if he does live up to his promises, I think he'll win Michigan, but as of right now, I don't see anything like the lock her up movement. That completely died out after the election. The things about building the wall. He may be saying he's building a wall, but it's essentially a fence. So let's move on to Pennsylvania. Right now, the current electoral map is at 235 to 215. So let's talk about Georgia again, because Georgia is very close. It's very Republican and very Democrat at the same time. Went for Bill Clinton in '92. Went for Republicans all the way up to 2016, but it's also strongly growing to the Democratic side. That African American population at Atlanta and big population cities in Georgia are slowly turning Democrat. Even though they don't come out to vote, if they did come out to vote, it would be solid Democrat. If all minorities came out to vote, the entire country would be solid Democrat. There wouldn't even be a competition. However, it's just the fact that some of them are disenfranchised to vote. Maybe they don't have an ID. Some voter restriction laws, things that may turn off some voters. They might not come out to vote. So there are a number of factors. So I'm going to give that one to the Republicans. So it'll land in their column. So right now it's at 235 to 231, and Florida. Florida was very, very close this election season in 2016. I was very surprised how close Florida was. I actually thought this one would go for Hillary Clinton by 5%, went for Trump by around 3. That's what I would say is very close, especially with a swing state like that one. That went for Bush by 5%. Um, it may not seem close because there's such a margin outside of that, like 0.3% in 2012. I still think it's close because Florida used to be solid Republican, didn't even go for Bill Clinton in both of his elections, went for him once. But I still think that Republicans still have a stronghold. They still are able to hold on to their base here, and they're able to keep Democrats keep Republicans elected. So Florida, I'm going to give to Donald Trump, regardless of how he does throughout these next years, because a lot of these senior citizens that have moved here for retirement, strong Republican voters. Colorado, I'm going to give to Warren, just because of the fact that it's the Latino population here is big. So right now, Elizabeth Warren has surpassed where Hillary Clinton was in 2016, where Hillary Clinton got 232 electoral votes, really 227. So she's at 244 to Donald Trump's 260. Donald Trump needs 10 electoral votes to win the presidency. So where would he get these 10? He would get them from Wisconsin. He would get them from Pennsylvania. He would get them from a combination of these two. Any of them other than New Hampshire. I'm going to give New Hampshire back to stay in the Democratic column just because of the fact that New Hampshire it's very Democratic. Like, they just recently elected a Democrat to a seat that wasn't even held by a Democrat ever. Not at all once in history, because of the anti-Trump movement there. This was a strong Republican district, I think, that voted for Trump by around like 20% elected a Democrat in a special election. So I'm thinking that in New Hampshire, this one will stay Democrat regardless of the nominee. Let's move on, unless it's Kanye West, which we'll get into that in another video. Wisconsin. Okay, so Wisconsin went for Trump by around 22,000 votes. 27,000 on election day. They miscalculated 5,000 votes. The recount there gave Trump 131 extra electoral votes. And I think that this one won't stay with the Democrat. We'll flip back to the Democrats just because of the fact that I don't think Trump will live up to a lot of the promises there. Again, if he does, he'll win back the Rust Belt, including Minnesota. But in my opinion. But I think that he won't be able to hold on to Wisconsin regardless of how he does. Unless he actually fills up the entire Trump base and then gains a few, because a lot of them they're moving away from the city. A lot of Democrats are going to come out and vote in 2020 just because a lot of them are like, why do I need to vote in 2016? So he's going to need to add a few to his base. If he doesn't live up to his promises, he loses his base. That just disenfranchises him more and his voters more. So I think this one will stay in the Democratic column. It all comes down to Pennsylvania, a red state in 2016. This is a state that went not solidly Republican, but outside what was thought. 44,000 votes, I think, after all the absentee ballots were counted. I think he won the Rust Belt by less than 80,000 votes in total. So, but I'm thinking Pennsylvania. This is a state that really did not like Hillary Clinton. They really love Joe Biden. They really love Barack Obama. They don't like Hillary Clinton. You know why? Because she turns off white working class voters. And that's exactly what happens every single time. So I'm thinking that Pennsylvania will stay in the Republican column. Sorry, I turned Maryland, and the final election prediction will be Donald Trump 280 to Elizabeth Warren 258. Elizabeth Warren will outperform Hillary Clinton, but Donald Trump will become, I think, the third incumbent to win re-election with less electoral votes than before. So, yeah, this is the election prediction. The Rust Belt, except for Pennsylvania, flipped back to the Democratic side, other than Ohio and Pennsylvania, so around half the Rust Belt, if you don't include Minnesota. And Nevada, Colorado, New Mexico, state Democrat. Virginia, state Democrat. Florida, North Carolina, state Republican. New Hampshire, state Democrat. And Maine, same situation there. Thank you all for watching, and then my next video will be Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump.